Hi, knowledge seeker! So far, I've suggested that pure complexity could be experienced as the observation of increasingly complex bricks, constituting systems of decreasing size and duration. For example, impanded beings should observe successive histories or eons of the simplest bricks, like light waves populating a gigantic and long-lasting universe. Closer complexities should still resemble large, enduring structures formed by particles more complex and slower than radiation. But then, what happens with systems much closer in complexity? Reasonably, they should appear to each other as crowded areas of complexity layers, ephemeral observers who seem to share a fleeting now. So there's no literal time-lapse during which impanded beings exist. Instead, they are timeless structures that imagine a time arrow. This paradox can explain why evolution is much less gradual and smooth than a time arrow requires. The reason is that complexity doesn't grow over time, but resembles time, although very differently depending on the scale. From this perspective, evolution and creation theories are equally biased. Organisms struggling for survival is just a metaphor because time doesn't literally exist before organisms. And creation is also a metaphor because birth doesn't literally happen before death. This way, traditional problems related to time dissolve when you play Impanders. The game consists of finding adequate metaphors to explain how we can mature and wrinkle, even if time is an illusion. For example, suppose you are a lasagna of complexity layers, each connected to the others from a particular epoch to keep the whole balanced. For instance, light is like an invisible thread that sews timelessly all you see. Atoms channel energy and organize molecules necessary for life. Cells read molecular codes and coordinate to form organs and scars. Your organs also adapt to the simple, like bacteria, and to the complex, like diffuse expectations, projects, and dreams. None of these systems exists independently of you, because they are also you, even though you conceptualize them as your past and future. Thus, complexity is enough to explain why human history seems to transform faster and faster, and why we see galaxies scattering at an increasing rate. An expanding universe is equivalent to a shrinking observer. In other words, the simpler seems to move away as the observer becomes more complex. Finally, if time is an illusion, what are birth and death? For Big Bangers, they are mysterious events in a time arrow. For Impanders, they are conceptual limits beyond which the subject cannot imagine. Indeed, they refer to the same state. So, for example, if we use the fractal metaphor, we can say that you never reach your end. Disappearing means returning before birth, so that once you don't exist, you've never existed. But don't worry, we can also say that relatively consonant levels or fractal branches are copied anywhere, anytime, into unique eons or instances. Suppose you apply the idea to the whole universe. In that case, you get what Penrose calls cyclic cosmology, an endless chain of universes where each Big Rip is another Big Bang. The only difference is that cyclic cosmology runs outward, while complexity is unfolded inward. But math cannot tell the difference, proving the problem is conceptual. Moreover, the space-time metaphors are a tight package, so consecutive and parallel universes are equivalent concepts for relative complexity. So, why is this so important for our ordinary life? Indeed, most people I know care nothing about the end of the universe. That's fantastic! However, death worries them so much that they rush at any promise of a longer life. then they jeopardize the ultimate support of our existence: balance. It's an irony. No literal time arrow conditions our lives. However, the space-time metaphors can drown our existence if we let them grow without control. That's why impanders are so important. They are here to bring science and nature back together. See you in the last chapter of the series. Bye.